So the 22 plant essences strengthen our relationship with our soul. And once again, when we look to the old ancient wisdom teachings, they saw the absence of soul as a vital part of ill health, the absence of soul. Now, we live in a world where there is not much recognition of soul, not really. You know, we're seeing all sorts of things appearing in chemist shops for body, mind and soul, and we're seeing all sorts of advertising sort of now starting to use the term soul, but they don't really know what it means. So when we're looking at the whole holistic healing, we cannot look at holistic healing without understanding soul and the soul lessons and presence of soul in the life and strengthening that relationship with soul. At a very, very, very practical level, for instance, every soul will have 22 archetypal experiences. For instance, number 75, foe. The soul lesson of death and endings. That regardless of who we are, we have to learn how to deal with death and endings. Whether those death or endings are physical or whether they are the end of a phase of life, the children have grown up and moved home, or a divorce, or whatever it may be. If we can't deal with that, we will be stuck. And I often give the example of a woman many years ago that I worked with as a client, and she was 60-something, and her mother had died when she was 2, and she had never gotten over that. She had stayed stuck. So there are a number of aspects or elements there. One, the death of her mother was traumatic at 2, even though she couldn't consciously remember it. So one, we would have to give her Fern essences, because there was trauma, unresolved trauma. But 2, we would have to give her one of the soul essences, because her soul has not learned, or is not learning the lesson. And if it doesn't learn the lesson, it will have to come, it will just keep coming back and back into the life. So, you know, well, in her case, she didn't marry, she didn't anything. Her whole life was one of regret, because she couldn't get over the death of her mother, so she'd been unable to marry, unable to have children, etc., by her own choice. But a different type of person, the same thing could have happened, and they could have married, and say, for instance, they would have lost their husband, they would have had a pattern of losing people that they loved, or losing things they really wanted or had a relationship with. And we would say, why is that happening? We say, oh, okay. Learning the lesson, hasn't learned the lesson, so the lesson will keep coming back. So very, very, very useful tool to enable us to understand patterns that can be at work in the life of the soul.